I figured that there was, that I couldn't, I couldn't, that was unacceptable for me. I couldn't, that, I, it was bad news.
In November 2012, Angus T. Jones looked straight into a camera and said this.
If you watch Two and a Half Men, please stop watching Two and a Half Men. I'm on Two and a Half Men. I don't want to be on it. Please stop watching it. Please stop filling your head with filth.
At 19, still cashing $350,000 per episode CBS checks, he called the show that built him filth. Not from the outside, from inside his own dressing room. 2 years later, Jones put it another way. A paid hypocrite. Then he walked. No statement. No farewell tour. August 2023. He stepped out onto a street in Los Angeles. Barefoot, long beard, black beanie. Nobody looked twice. What did Angus trade it all in for? In fact, nobody handed Jones a crisis. He built one himself. To understand why a 19-year-old with a $350,000 per episode contract sat down in front of a camera and torched his own career, you have to go back further than November 2012. You have to go back to high school. Back to when Angus T. Jones was just a kid whose parents were falling apart, whose grades were slipping, and whose way of dealing with all of it was getting high. Jones himself laid it out on his 19th birthday, speaking to a Seventh-day Adventist group. His parents had marital issues and decided to divorce. Jones had a girlfriend at the time and spent as much time outside the house as possible, experimenting with marijuana, with LSD, drifting. The boy cashing Hollywood checks on weekends was the same boy losing his footing everywhere else. That's the part the headlines skipped. Then, around the turn of 2012, something shifted. Ashton Kutcher had just replaced Charlie Sheen on the show, and Jones wasn't even sure he was coming back for another season. A man named John Pena entered Jones's life and completed something that had been forming slowly. A growing unease about wealth sitting next to suffering, about a life that looked fine from the outside and felt hollow from the inside. Jones started asking questions he hadn't asked before. The answers sent him to church. Multiple churches. Every Sunday, Jones showed up somewhere new. 3 churches, sometimes 4 in a single weekend. He was looking, as he described it himself, for something specific. An African-American gospel community. A place that felt alive. Every Sunday I was going to 3 or 4, Jones said in the Forerunner video, adding with the kind of candor that made the clip go viral. I was looking for a black gospel theme? I don't know. I like black people. The Forerunner laughed. Jones wasn't joking. He was searching. Hard. In June 2012, Jones found what he was looking for, or close enough. He was baptized and officially joined a local Seventh-day Adventist congregation in the San Fernando Valley, the Spectrum magazine confirmed in a statement released that November. George Johnson, communication director for the Seventh-day Adventist Church in North America, welcomed Jones publicly. We are happy that Angus has joined the Seventh-day Adventist family and has found a place in which he feels comfortable to worship and grow his faith. 6 months later, the same church would be scrambling to distance itself from what Jones said next. Jones had reached out to Christopher Hudson of Forerunner Chronicles, not to make a video, but because he had questions about his faith. What happened instead was that Hudson flew from Alabama to Los Angeles, set up a camera inside Jones's trailer on the Warner Brothers lot, and recorded a 15-minute sit-down that would detonate everything. As blogger Naima Lett noted pointedly at the time, the video went public before Jones had told Warner Brothers he wanted to leave, before his contract was up for renewal, and before Jones had even completed 1 full year inside his new faith. Forerunner Chronicles hit publish anyway. By the time the video went live in November 2012, Jones had been living inside a contradiction for months. Every week he walked onto that set. Every week, CBS handed him a check. And every week, The gap between what he believed and what he was doing on camera grew wider. He described the psychological toll himself, later, to CBS affiliate KHOU, not as conflict, but as a verdict. It was making light of topics in our world that are really problems for a lot of people. I was a paid hypocrite because I wasn't okay with it, but I was still doing it. The dressing room wasn't a sanctuary. It was the scene of the crime. The video itself ran 15 minutes. Most of it was Jones talking about his faith journey, the divorce, the drug experimentation, the church shopping, the baptism. But somewhere around the 7-minute mark, the tone shifted. Jones looked at Hudson and started talking about 2.5 Men directly. Jake from 2.5 Men means nothing, Jones said, as reported by ABC News. He is a non-existent character. Then came the line that every entertainment outlet would pull and run on loop for the next week. If you watch 2.5 Men, please stop watching 2.5 Men. I'm on 2.5 Men, and I don't want to be on it. Please stop watching it and filling your head with filth. He wasn't done. Jones kept going, pulling the thread further than anyone expected a teenager under contract to pull it. A lot of people don't like to think about how deceptive the enemy is, Jones continued, as captured in the Hollywood Reporter's coverage. There's no playing around when it comes to eternity. People will see us and be like, I can be a Christian and be on a show like 2.5 Men. You can't. You cannot be a true God-fearing person and be on a television show like that. I know I can't. Then Jones turned to the camera directly. Do some research on the effects of television and your brain, and I promise you you'll have a decision to make when it comes to television, especially with what you watch. 19 years old, still under contract, no lawyers in the room. The video hit YouTube on a Monday. By Tuesday, CBS News had the story. By Wednesday, The Hollywood Reporter, ABC News, and every entertainment outlet with a homepage had run it. The comments split immediately. One side calling Jones brave, the other calling him exactly what he called himself months later, a hypocrite. The industry read it as commercial suicide. A 19-year-old had just told 15 million weekly viewers to change the channel. Nobody in Hollywood knew what to do with that. CBS said nothing. Warner Brothers Television said nothing. Both studios, when pressed by reporters, delivered the same 3 words: no comment. As CBS News reported, the network hasn't responded to a request for comment. Warner Brothers Television issued the identical non-statement. 2 of the most powerful entertainment entities in America looked at what Jones had just done and chose silence. Silence was the smartest answer they had. The Seventh-day Adventist Church moved faster. By Tuesday afternoon, the church's North American Communication Office had pushed a formal statement to media outlets, published in full by Spectrum magazine. The statement confirmed Jones's membership. Baptized in June 2012, active in a San Fernando Valley congregation, but drew a hard line around the video itself. Forerunner Chronicles is not a ministry operated by the Seventh-day Adventist Church, the statement read, and its host is not a pastor of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Jones's comments, the church added carefully, were of a personal nature, reflecting his views after having undergone changes during his spiritual journey. The church welcomed Jones. The church did not claim the video. Jones's own mother wasn't sure what to claim either. Carrie Jones told the Daily Mail she was concerned her son was being exploited by the church, a word that lands differently when you consider what Naeem Alette, a Hollywood faith blogger, pointed out the same week. Forerunner Chronicles had filmed Jones inside his own Warner Brothers trailer, released the video without giving Jones time to notify his employers, and done so before Jones had completed even 1 year of his new faith. How many parents, Lett wrote, would take their child, who is not even 1 year old, and put them in a position to have to defend themselves and their beliefs? Hudson said Jones was doing very well. Jones's mother wasn't so sure. By Tuesday evening, Jones issued an apology. The Hollywood Reporter ran the full statement. I apologize if my remarks reflect me showing indifference to and disrespect of my colleagues and a lack of appreciation of the extraordinary opportunity of which I have been blessed, Jones wrote. He named Chuck Lorre, Peter Roth, Warner Brothers, and CBS directly. He called 2.5 Men one of the most significant experiences in my life to date. He said, "Without qualification, I am grateful to and have the highest regard and respect for all of the wonderful people on 2.5 Men with whom I have worked, and over the past 10 years who have become an extension of my family." Jones pulled back from insulting the people. He never defended the show. Charlie Sheen, fired from the same show 2 years earlier, watched the whole thing from the outside and recognized something in it. Speaking to The Hollywood Reporter at a Fox party during the Television Critics Association Winter Press Tour, Sheen was measured in a way that surprised people expecting fireworks. "I get it, it's a weird place and people tend to have a different perspective on life working over there," Sheen said. "I don't think he's crazy. I just think he's a little maybe over-influenced in some other beliefs." Then Sheen added the line that cut sharpest. "I like the apology his lawyers wrote for him. That was pretty good." Sheen had been through his own version of this. He knew what a written apology looked like. Sheen didn't stop at commentary. Through ABC News, the former star extended a public invitation. "My former nephew is welcome at the Goodson Anger Management Home anytime." The offer was real. Sheen told The Hollywood Reporter directly, "Come on over, Angus. He's a really good kid. I miss him. Come one, come all." Sheen also called the video a Hale Bop-like meltdown and declared, for the second time in 2 years, that the show itself was cursed. 2 men, 2 different exits, the same conclusion about the building they'd both worked in. Neither of them was wrong about what that set did to people. Jon Cryer's reaction landed differently, quieter, more telling. When the video dropped, Cryer's co-star Ashton Kutcher came running. As Cryer recounted on Fox 411 radio, Kutcher's face looked like he had seen a ghost. Kutcher asked, "Did you hear about Angus?" Then showed Cryer the video. Cryer, who by that point had survived Charlie Sheen's complete unraveling on the same set, looked at Kutcher and said, "Well, do you think he still wants to go in on the crew gift?" Cryer later added in the same interview, "Angus one was so minor because I wasn't actually worried that any actual harm would come to him." Cryer had seen worse. Much worse. Matt Belloni, then news director of The Hollywood Reporter, read the situation clearly and said so on record. "Nobody wants someone who doesn't want to be there. He's paid very well. They treat him like a professional. It's not like there's some raging feud happening on the set like there was with Charlie Sheen. I could see them working something out where he leaves gracefully." Graceful was the goal. Graceful was not exactly what happened. CBS announced in April 2013 that Jones would be downgraded to recurring status for season 11. Jones didn't appear in that season at all. His character Jake Harper had already been quietly written into the background, reduced, as Naima Let noted, to 1-scene Skype calls before the video even dropped. The machine had already started moving Jones toward the exit. The video just accelerated the timeline. There was no blacklist document. There didn't need to be. Jones's apology had been sincere enough and different enough from Sheen's all-out war with Lorre that Warner Brothers didn't pursue breach of contract. The disparagement clause that Yahoo Entertainment flagged as a potential legal landmine was never triggered. Jones had called the show filth, then called his colleagues family. The contradiction held just enough water to keep the lawyers out of it. Chuck Lorre left the door open, just barely. Jones walked through it one last time on February 19, 2015, a brief cameo in the series finale, Of Course He's Dead, Season 12. One scene, then nothing. On March 18, 2014, Jones had already made his position a matter of public record, telling the world he had been a paid hypocrite. The apology, the cameo, the quiet downgrade, all of it was the industry's way of letting someone leave without making it a war. Jones took the exit, and then he was gone. Jones walked out of that building in 2013. The question nobody could answer was, walked out to what? Hollywood had a template for this story. Child star implodes, disappears for a few years, resurfaces in a reality show or a mugshot or both. The tabloids had the format ready. The headlines were pre-written. All Jones had to do was follow the script. He didn't. The first thing Jones did after leaving the highest-rated sitcom in America was enroll in college. Not film school. Not an acting conservatory. The University of Colorado at Boulder, a public research university 1,000 miles from Los Angeles, where nobody knew his face, and nobody cared about his IMDb page. As ABC News reported 4 years later, Jones described the experience in terms that had nothing to do with career strategy. I wasn't the center of everyone's attention, and that was nice. That sentence did more work than it appeared to. For a decade, Jones had been the center of attention professionally in a way most people never experience. 15 million viewers watched Jake Harper every week. CBS built promotional campaigns around his face. Jones was recognized everywhere he went, not as himself, but as Jake, the character that, in the Forerunner video, he had called a non-existent character. Boulder gave him something the Warner Brothers lot never could, the experience of being nobody in particular, sitting in a lecture hall, anonymous. Jones enrolled first in environmental studies, then switched to Jewish studies. He didn't finish either degree, at least not in that first stint. As people reported in Jones's October 2016 interview, Jones paused his studies to return to Los Angeles, though he maintained the intention to go back and complete his degree. What Boulder gave him, he told people, was a normal existence, a phrase that landed with quiet weight, coming from someone who had spent his entire adolescence inside one of television's most abnormal environments. Normal was the thing he had been missing. In that same 2016 People interview, Jones pulled back the curtain on what the years between 2012 and 2016 had actually felt like from the inside. The public had seen the video, the apology, the quiet disappearance. What Jones described was something raw. If you'd asked me a few years ago if I wanted to get back involved in the industry, I would have said, "No, not at all," Jones told people. Then came the line that reframed everything. "I got pretty doomsday with my thinking for a long time, but now I'm having fun and enjoying where I'm at. I no longer feel like every step I take is on a landmine." A landmine. That's the word a 23-year-old chose to describe what it felt like to navigate his own life. The doomsday thinking Jones described wasn't a passing phase. It was the psychological weight of someone who had made a public declaration that cost him everything professionally, then had to live inside the silence that followed. No roles came in after the Forerunner video. Hollywood, as Jones found out, had a long memory for actors who told audiences to stop watching their shows. The career that had been building since Jones was cast at age 10, the first kid the producers saw, hired before he even left the audition, stopped completely. The checks stopped too. Jones didn't collapse publicly. He didn't spiral into the tabloid narrative that had been written for him. Instead, in 2016, he accepted a position on the management team of Tonite, a multimedia and event production company co-founded by Justin Combs, son of Sean Diddy Combs, and Keen Orgioki, as People reported. Jones came on as president of entertainment. It was a pivot, away from performing, toward building something behind the scenes, away from cameras and toward the business of creating experiences for other people. Tonite folded the same year. That detail mattered. Not because failure defined Jones, but because it illustrated the gap between what the industry assumed would happen, child star crashes, gets desperate, comes crawling back to Hollywood, and what actually happened. Jones tried something. It didn't work. He moved on. No press release, no public statement. News noted that Jones simply continued living largely outside the spotlight, occasionally posting on Instagram. In 2020, he wrote, "I do music now. Go ahead and get used to it, loves. https://www.eonline.com/news/1430332/2-and-T-Jones-where-r-they- Now, nobody really got used to it, because the posts stayed sparse. Then came August 2023. A photographer caught Jones on a street in Los Angeles, barefoot, long beard, black beanie, khaki shorts, a black graphic tee with Showquip lettering across the chest, a nod to Texas where Jones was born. As Fox News reported, Jones was 30 years old, walking near a car, head down. The image circulated because it was jarring, not because Jones looked bad, but because Jones looked like anyone. The polish of Jake Harper, the sitcom sheen of a child actor groomed for television, was completely gone. The man in that photo was unrecognizable. That was the point. By April 2024, Jones surfaced again. Another rare public sighting, this time caught by E! News. Baseball cap, sunglasses, gray sweatpants, a plain black t-shirt, full beard. Taking a walk in Los Angeles like anyone taking a walk in Los Angeles. Not a red carpet, not a premiere, not a staged comeback moment. Just a man in his 30s, outside, moving through the city he grew up performing in, now invisible inside it. 2 sightings in 2 years. That was the public record of Angus T. Jones's life. But 2023 brought something else besides the barefoot photograph. Jones reappeared, briefly, deliberately, on his own terms, in Chuck Lorre's Max series Bookie. The cameo reunited Jones with Charlie Sheen in a scene that could only have been written by someone who understood exactly how strange the whole story was, the two of them playing poker at a rehab facility. As E! News reported, several actors from the original 2.5 Men poker scenes came back for the same sequence. The meta layer was impossible to miss. Lorre called Jones a terrific guy. Jones showed up, shot the scene, and left. Chuck Lorre, speaking to Variety about the Bookie cameo, said Jones was as quick-witted and talented as ever. That assessment from the man whose show Jones had publicly called filth, the man Jones had personally named in his apology, the man who had quietly kept the door open for a series finale cameo in 2015, carried a particular weight. Lorre had watched Jones blow up his own career, apologize, disappear, and resurface a decade later for a poker scene at a fictional rehab. And Lorre's verdict was that Jones was doing great. Whatever Jones had traded it all in for, it hadn't broken him. In the October 2016 People interview, Jones had described his post-Hollywood freedom in terms that sounded almost deliberate in their simplicity. "The door is definitely still open for me to do that, but I'm taking things slowly. I'm kind of liking the ability to travel and to move around at a moment's notice and not have to be in one spot for years at a time." For years at a time. That phrase pointed directly at what Jones had spent his entire childhood doing. Locked into a production schedule, a character, a contract, a public identity that belonged to CBS as much as it belonged to him. The ability to move at a moment's notice wasn't a consolation prize. For Jones, it was the thing he had been buying all along. By 2016, Jones had also quietly stepped back from the organized religious framework that had triggered the original explosion. He told Yahoo Entertainment that year, I'm interested in seeing where I go without an organization putting a stamp of approval on if I'm good or bad or whatever. The Seventh-day Adventist Church that had welcomed him in June 2012, that had scrambled to distance itself from the Forerunner video 4 months later. Jones was moving past that too. Not abandoning faith. Moving past the institution. He was still in motion. Just quietly. Angus T. Jones had everything the industry said you were supposed to want. The contract, the checks, the 15 million viewers. He walked away from all of it. Not in a blaze, not in a meltdown, but quietly. One decision at a time. The next time you feel trapped inside something that pays well but costs more than it should, remember that. Fame has a price tag, too.